Imagine standing in a hall of kings and gods. You are a princess, the most beautiful woman in the world, and before you stand five identical men, same face, same body, same eyes. Four of them are gods, immortal, powerful. They can give you heaven itself. One of them is mortal, a king who lost everything, a man who will one day abandon you alone in a forest at midnight. And yet, you already know which one you will choose. This is the story of Nala and Damayanti, a love so fierce it survived divine interference, demonic possession, exile, and abandonment. And it comes from the pages of Maha Bharatam, a story within the greatest epic ever written. Nala was the emperor of Nishada, a warrior, a horseman, and a man of such virtue that even the gods admired him. Damayanti was the princess of Vidarbha, so extraordinary in beauty and grace that poets ran out of words trying to describe her. They had never met, they had never spoken, but fate had already chosen them for each other. One afternoon, Nala caught a golden swan in his royal garden. As he held it gently, the swan spoke. "Release me, great king," it said, "and I will carry your name to Damayanti herself. I will praise you so thoroughly that she will love no one else." Nala smiled and opened his hands. The swan flew across forests and rivers to Vidarbha and sat beside the princess as she walked in her garden. It described Nala's courage, his kindness, his mastery of horses and swords, and the sacred arts. With every word, something shifted inside Damayanti. She fell in love with a man she had never seen. She stopped eating. She stopped sleeping. She moved through the palace like a ghost, her heart already living somewhere far away. Her father, King Bhima, noticed, and so he announced her Swayamvaram, a ceremony where Damayanti would choose her own husband from assembled kings across the land. The news traveled to the heavens. The gods Indra, Agni, Varuna, and Yama decided, "She will be my queen." On their way to the ceremony, they spotted Nala. They stopped him. "You will go to her," they commanded. "Tell her to choose one of us. We are gods." Nala was in an impossible position. He was in love with her, but he was commanded by the rulers of heaven. He obeyed. Using divine blessings, he passed through her guarded inner chambers like a breath of wind, silent, unseen. He stood before her. Damayanti looked at him, and despite never having seen him before, she knew. She told him, "I will only marry you, Nala." Nala reminded her gently of the danger. These were gods. She smiled, then asked them to attend my Swayamvaram. Let the gods watch. The day of the Swayamvaram arrived. The hall gleamed with gold. Then Damayanti entered and stopped. Before her sat five identical Nalas. The hall fell silent. The gods were testing her. Damayanti stood motionless, then closed her eyes and prayed, "You are gods. You know Dharma. Please reveal yourselves." The gods relented. Their eyes did not blink. Their feet hovered. No shadow on the floor. But in the center stood one man whose feet pressed firmly against the earth, whose eyes blinked, human and uncertain. Damayanti walked forward and placed the garland around his neck. The gods blessed them, but one figure was not smiling. Arriving too late stood Kali, the embodiment of corruption. He had wanted Damayanti. He had been denied. He made a vow. He would destroy them both. 12 years passed. They had 2 children. Their kingdom flourished, but Kali was patient. One evening, Nala made a minor mistake in his purification rituals. It was enough. Kali slipped inside him like smoke through a cracked door. From that moment, Nala was no longer entirely himself. His cousin Pushkara appeared. A game of dice was proposed. What followed was a slow execution. Over months, Nala lost his horses, his army, his palace, his kingdom. Damayanti watched in horror as the man who had moved like a ghost for gods now threw away everything they had built together. At the end, Pushkara decreed everyone who helped Nala would be beheaded. They walked out of the palace with nothing but the clothes on their backs. 2 children in arms. For 3 days, they sat beneath a tree. No food, no shelter. This was Kali's work. They sent their children to Vidarbha and entered the forest. 2 exiles walking into the dark in the forest. A starving Nala saw golden birds. Thinking he could catch them for food, he threw his only garment over them. The birds rose as one, carrying his cloth into the sky. They called down, "Fool, we are the dice. We came to take your last possession." Nala stood naked, with nothing. Damayanti tore her sari in half without a word and gave him half. That night, in a forest shelter, Damayanti fell asleep. Nala sat in the darkness, and Kali whispered, "She deserved better than a ruined man. Leave her. She will go to her father." Nala fought it, but Kali was beside him. Inside him, he is Kali. He took half the sari, cut it carefully, and looked back at her one final time. He walked into the night. When Damayanti woke, she reached for him and felt nothing but cold ground. She ran outside and screamed his name into the forest. Only silence answered her. Damayanti did not collapse. She walked through a forest that tried to swallow her. Her devotion was so absolute, it became a weapon. Eventually, she reached the kingdom of Chedi, broken and ragged, and waited. Nala, meanwhile, was in his own darkness in a burning forest. He heard a voice. The Naga king Karkotaka was trapped. Nala carried him out. In return, Karkotaka bit him. The venom worked horribly. Nala's form crumpled into a deformed dwarf, ugly and unrecognizable. Karkotaka explained the venom would torment Kali inside him, and the disguise would protect him. He gave Nala a magical garment to one day restore his true form. Nala, now calling himself Bahuka, traveled to Ayodhya and found employment as a charioteer and a cook. A fallen emperor washing dishes, driving horses, keeping the fire inside himself alive. Back in Vidarbha, Damayanti had been found. She would not rest until she found Nala. She sent messengers with a riddle about a husband who abandoned his wife at midnight. In Ayodhya, Bahuka heard the verse. In a broken voice, he replied with an answer only Nala would know. A verse about a man haunted by his own weakness who never stopped loving the woman he left behind. Damayanti devised a plan. She announced a second Swayamvaram for the next day. Only Bahuka could drive a chariot that fast. During the journey, King Rituparna taught Nala the science of numbers and dice. The moment that knowledge entered Nala's mind, Kali was expelled, omitting poison. In Vidarbha, Damayanti's maid observed Bahuka. Water flowed at his touch. Fire ignited without fuel. These were Nala's blessings. Damayanti sent their children to him. Bahuka held them and wept. An ugly, broken dwarf weeping over children who did not recognize their father. Then Damayanti walked in. She asked, "Why?" He explained the madness of Kali. She swore the remained devoted, and the wind itself confirmed it. Nala put on the Naga's cloth. The dwarf form dissolved. Nala, tall, glorious, stood before his wife. They held each other in silence. Nala returned to Nishada and won back everything he had lost. Then he did something remarkable. He forgave Pushkara completely. This is the story the sage Brihadas were told to a hopeless king Yudhishthira. Even the most righteous man can lose everything. Even the most devoted love can be shattered. But Dharma and truth and love that is real, they always find their way home. If you want more stories of courage and impossible choices, subscribe and stay with us. This is Epics Untold signing off.